Palistate Neighborhood Watch.
Hello, and you're listening to the Palistate Neighborhood Watch, Doctor Who podcasting in the community. This week we'll be rounding off our discussion of Series 1's first two-parter with World War III. I'm your compere for this evening, Grant, and as ever, I'm with my two co-hosts, Graham Foch Passamir Day Slivine.
Hello.
And MP for Flydale North, Matt.
Hello.
Hello. So, yes, this week we're going to be jumping back into the second part of this two-parter, the first of the new series. So, a little bit of background. Written by Russell T Davies and directed by Keith Bogue. I believe this is possibly his last one for the series, because this is the last episode of that first block of filming. And so it was first broadcast on 23rd of April 2005, and with a consolidated audience watching figure of 7.98 million. So, gentlemen, I'm going to hand it over to you first, Matt. After rewatching this episode, what was your initial reaction?
I was pleasantly surprised by how much more positive I felt about it this time, because I've seen it a couple of times this year, and probably the first time since, not quite since transmission, but not far off it. And I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. There was something about it that made it feel like the programme had really landed now, in a way, even though, you know, some of the previous episodes were probably more to my taste. Oh. It felt like it had a confidence for the first time. Wasn't quite feeling its way quite so much.
Yeah, sure. And yourself, Graham?
I also was more positive than I usually am after watching this. On first watch, I did think there was too much silliness in it for me, and it was hiding a pretty decent story. And when I've watched it a lot in those first 5 years or so, purely because my kid liked it and wanted to watch it, but I kind of always switched off during it. So I never really got any more out of it. But watching it for the podcast and paying more attention, I actually think there is a lot more good than bad about this.
Cool. My first impressions was, I watched this early in the week, making my notes, and I realised, one, how much of it I had forgotten. Like, in my head, when I think of the story of the two-parter, I realised I was thinking mostly of stuff that happens in the first episode. And coming into it, I actually think this is the weaker of the two episodes, and I'm going to be confident in saying that I think this is for me at least, the weakest episode so far of the series. There is a lot of good in it, but there was just, you know, I don't want to say bad, a lot of less good stuff that didn't quite work for me.
I know what you mean, because it's not my favourite episode so far, and probably of those so far, it is probably one of, you know, I don't tend to think of them as two episodes as one story though, and it would be, of the three so far, it's my least favourite, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I was looking over some of the notes, some of the production notes for the story, and I think it's quite nice that we've returned to an almost William Hartnell vibe of multi-part stories having independent titles, like they did. Was it The Crusade, which was the last one in the classic series, 65?
The Gunfighters,
that's it. Yes. So yeah, I think that's actually a really nice touch, whether it was intentional or not. Although, according to these notes here, apparently up until the last minute, it was still provisionally titled Aliens of London Part 2.
Can't imagine that now.
No. They did also consider the title of 10 Downing Street, which is a bit more, I don't know, obscure, a bit more simplistic.
Bit documentary.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's almost as bland as the title Rose. It's very statement-like. No,
They've definitely been channeling the Bidmead era with their titles.
yes, and it won't be the last one, because I mean we've got Dalek coming up. Father's Day, I guess. Bad Wolf.
They're all very. They're not the X of Y.
Yeah, I mean,
which was almost a cliche for how long? 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's whole series of the classic series where it's the verb of noun.
I don't mind that so much because I can remember them a lot easier.
Perhaps Douglas Adams was going to write one called that.
Yes, I believe so. I've definitely read that somewhere. So, launching into the episode, we get a nice little recap of the events of the previous week. We see aliens crashing in London, the Doctor returning Rose back home, Slevene taking over various members of the British government, and finally ending in what appears to be a massacre by the Slevene of Earth's greatest scientists and soldiers, who all the world's experts of on alien warfare, shall we say. And last week, I thought that was an absolutely fantastic cliffhanger. MP Joseph Green gets that lovely line of, they'll be useful for identifying your bodies, as he begins to electrocute everyone. And you're left wondering, how is the Doctor going to get out of this situation? What cunning and ingenious way is he going to solve this problem? And 7 days later, we find out he solved it by taking the tag off.
Well, I do, because he's an alien, isn't he?
Yes.
I thought it's like that wasn't working on him because he was an alien, so he was able to, I didn't know he'd taken the tag off. Oh, yeah, no, he did. He pinned it on the Slevene, didn't he?
Yeah, so he stood there nicely and waited for him to do it.
There was a reason why he could do that, but yeah, it's a bit thin. But it gave us almost another cliffhanger because he turned the tables on them and then the credits start.
Yes, that was going to be my next point. That as he does say, deadly to humans, maybe. And after that, we go straight into the titles. And I think this is possibly, not counting the recap, the shortest pre-title sequence so far and possibly ever.
Yeah.
I was surprised that we got part of the resolution to a triple cliffhanger just before the titles. That seemed to undermine it slightly for me.
It does.
I'd have preferred they'd ended it in the same place and then we got all three resolutions after the titles.
But I quite enjoyed it. I didn't mind the fact that it was a bit thin. There was a lot going on, so they were never going to spend a lot of time resolving these cliffhangers, were they?
No.
And Mickey
Well, they never do,
would have hit somebody over the back of the head with a chair. That's how that one was.
Did that ever happen again, though, where they actually changed the recap? I mean, we know in the old series they were always doing that, but I can't think.
I can think of maybe one future cliffhanger resolution, which is, I think, universally accepted as much poorer than this resolution. I suppose we'll come to that. Come to that into the next series. Hint.
Oh, right. That soon.
Yeah, but I did like cutting away to Jackie being attacked in her flat and Mickey coming to the rescue. I mean, it's a point I think I'm going to come back to over the course of this discussion of Mickey and Jackie, and Mickey especially, has a lot more meat on their bones in this episode. I think, like you were saying, Matt, about the series having landed, we're finally starting to see some heft to these characters who are going to be our supporting cast. I mean, rightfully or wrongfully, in the first episode, they're both archetypes rather than characters, I'd say. Whereas here, we actually get to, and in the episode before, we get to see them be characters.
Yes, all the tropes were in there as well. We later get curtains being pulled on someone's head, and with this one we have a chair over the back of the Slovene, which I thought was it was a moment of panic for them, but it came over as quite funny, and I think it's probably meant to.
Yeah,
because Mickey's still a sort of comic relief character to some extent at this time.
It's quite good lateral thinking, I think.
Yeah, grab whatever's to hand.
Over this episode, we this is what we know of Mickey really starts to get fleshed out in this. He's quite complex character in the end. He's not an idiot. He can be very useful, but he's a bit scared of everything still. But he has been through hell, and you can kind of see that in him now. But also, a lot of it is maybe to do with the fact that we've got a two-parter. We've got more time in this story to spend with Jackie and Mickey, and Harriet gets a lot of development as well.
Yes.
No, I'd agree. I definitely agree there. Harriet does does get a little bit more of a slice of the action in this episode. So the Doctor manages to make his escape as paralleling Mickey and Jackie making their escape at the same time. And I do quite like his line. I do giggle at his line. If you want aliens, they're inside Downing Street. And he runs off again with a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah.
I was going to... I've decided to call this lot the Keystone Cops. Because they're all slightly plump. They're wearing almost comedy. I don't know if those are real, like, police riot helmets, but they look quite amusing.
Yes.
And I'm trying to work out who they were. I thought they were they're actually police, aren't they?
Yes.
They're not the SAS.
It doesn't help that the one he says, "Oh, that's never going to work, is it?" And he says, "No." That guy is like a dead ringer for Nigel Planer, which just
yes. Oh God, I see it now.
It just makes I just can't take him seriously anyway. But he is in there as a. I think Matt's Keystone Cops description is perfect for that. Like, they spend all their time running up and down corridor, doing nothing, and as we'll see shortly, they have opportunities to take out the Doctor, and they let him get in lifts, they let him climb stairs. It's like, they can stand there talking to him, but they just shoot them.
They take part in his bits, you know. He wants to do a bit of sketch comedy quick, and they humour him.
It's quite sinister as well, tone-wise, to have them as a firing squad.
Yeah.
That doesn't work when I watch it now. It's really, they're too comedic to be suddenly turned like that. And also the idea of that happening on a family show as well. It's not told it's this.
Yeah, this would have been about, I don't know, 7:20, in the evening, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
This scene comes. But this scene does start quite comedic, but the hints of menace do come in. By the end of this scene, there's three scenes in one, really. We got the Scooby-Doo bit with Rose and Harriet running backwards and forwards, and we got the Doctor running from the soldiers, and we've got Mickey and Jackie dealing with their bit. Yeah. And this goes on quite a lot, where we got these three kind of stories running concurrently, and at the end of it, by the end of it, it is quite sinister when they're hunting Rose and Harriet in the Prime Minister's office, smelling her sweat and everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really jar to me.
No, I like it.
I don't like the comic tone, but it kind of fades away and starts to get a little bit, I don't know if sinister is the word, but menacing maybe is the word.
Yeah.
So, Harriet Jones, I've got in my notes here, MVP, the emergency protocols. At least someone's got their thinking cap on. And I do, and this next couple of scenes, like you both been saying, to me is the biggest failing of the Slovene. And I've just got here, wobbly suits, graceful CGI, and I just find it, I just can't get past it. I can't put off that it's 2005 special effects, but we see them in long shots of CGI running down corridors, leaping about like apex predators, but when we cut to them in person, they're bumbling down hallways, bumping into stuff, like Mr. Blobby. And it's just a really, I just can't get over it. I think to me, it's just a really incongruous look to the whole thing.
Yeah,
That's
they don't
it's
match,
cool.
do they?
No, it's just
Those
it's
those two aspects of the creatures. But I mean, as a Doctor Who fan, you kind of sometimes they'll pull off miracles with a low budget, and sometimes they just made a load of wrong choices.
yeah,
And I think that might be the case here. And maybe they went down the CGI route, ran out of money, or maybe they went down the foam rubber suit. And, But to mix them, if that was the choice, if they wanted to do that, then they should have made them meet in the middle somewhere, shouldn't they?
yeah,
Well, I think they're quite good. I think when there's three of them having a chat and they're in the suits, it's when they cut to them suddenly doing that, being in the hunt and going fast. It doesn't really work, and it would be easier just to cut those scenes entirely
yeah,
and just have the idea of them hunting. So it's like we know that the Daleks don't really go that fast in reality, but we believe in the horror of them because we don't necessarily have to see them bumping into scenery and the like.
yeah,
So yeah, I think you're probably right. They either needed to be all CGI or cut out the CGI and just have the rubber
yeah.
suits bit.
Because I don't know too much about the thought behind it, but I get the feeling that the Slitheen were being set up as their attempt at the first classic monster, to a monster that could potentially join the ranks of, the Zygons, the Daleks, Ice Warriors, Slitheen. And I think after this episode, definitely, I think they go away and they rethink it, and I think they do a far better job with them in Boomtown. I mean, I want to say, I'm just going to breeze through a few points I've got here because at this point in the episode, I was already feeling this is quite weak compared to last time, because I can see I've already made far more negative notes in this section than I have others. Downing Street seems a bit small to have a lift, and I've never been inside, but it just feels like I can't actually imagine Downing Street having a lift. It doesn't. It's only 3 stories, and it's
Apparently, no. It's a warren in there. It's knocked through the buildings behind it, and
yeah.
so I can well believe it has got a lift. I mean, yeah, it's
You'd have lots of big stacks of documents to take up and downstairs. So even if it was just a goods lift, they'd
True.
probably have one. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all completely different to what they've designed for the show. But
it's bigger on the inside.
I mean, but speaking of the lift, and I have to go back to Rose for this, but I'm actually fairly certain they reused the footage of the lift from Rose, but they've added a light effect to it to slightly disguise it. I'm guessing from Matt's laughter, I wasn't the only one to pick up on that.
I think that bit of lift rising or falling gets used about 3 or 4 times this year. I remember it when I used to be on the forums at the time. It would get commented on. It's like, oh, here's the lift again.
So I think it's I think it's even, was it even in End of the World? Because they use a lift in that, don't they?
I don't normally remember things like that because my brain's all over the place. So I'm leaving this to you two to analyse.
But I do like the back and forth between the two Slitheen in the lift.
Yes.
Your body is magnificent, which is I think it's very funny. It's a nice bit of body positivity. So there's, it's not all bad, and it's a point I will come back to because they repeat it later on. But I do like his just deadpan rejoicing nakedness. I thought that
it
was a lovely
suddenly becomes a thing in this episode, doesn't it?
Yes.
That they like to be naked when they're triumphant as well.
Yes, it's
you
a
must
tick.
forget that being naked is also not being squashed as well.
Yeah,
so it's probably a lot more comfortable being free to the elements.
But they don't wear clothes, do they? So
no.
It's a Donald Duck conundrum all over again, isn't it? Well, I was going to say, Graham, you wanted to talk about the scene where they're hiding in the office, and so
it's obviously that is quite menacing, and they're enjoying the hunt, aren't they? But what I really like about those scenes. They discover Rose, and Harriet Jones leaps out. No, take me. Like this is a woman so far. All she's been bumbling about cottage hospitals,
Yeah.
and she sneaking around trying to get in the office with a cup of coffee and this, and then suddenly this is big heroic gesture, and it's the first moment where Harriet Jones starts to you start to take her seriously, and the beginning of her arc to become Prime Minister. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few little stepping stones along the way before we get to the end of this episode where it's clear.
And how about you, Matt?
It's a great scene. It's very spooky. But I think the kids will love it as well because the Slovene are very naughty, childish aliens.
Yes.
So they're evil. They are evil things, but they're also childlike.
I think this is the first scene where both aspects of the character work. You know, the comedy and the menace are kind of they work at the same time there.
Yeah.
For the first time, I'm becoming a little bit more convinced by these monsters.
Yeah, it's just when they run, isn't it? That's really the problem.
Yeah.
No, it's when they giggle and fart. That's my problem. Yeah, they look silly when they run.
They've toned that down a bit this week, though, haven't they?
They have.
That's already been established.
Yes.
The only giggling was the red phone, and there was nowhere near as many farts. I'm sure Grant has counted them.
For my sins?
I don't think there's anywhere near as many as there were. But
well, that's all to play for still.
Lose a guess, right?
A rare example of RTD realising the joke's already over.
There was quite a lot in that sequence, wasn't there? There was stuff going on with Mickey and Jackie. The only bits of them we get during this sequence is them sneaking past the policeman.
Yeah.
In another Scooby-Doo effort.
Yeah. It's tiptoeing from column to column.
And then they're in Mickey's flat, aren't they, chatting about it? I'm not sure whether that probably does come after.
Yeah, because we've got the doctor rescuing them and and hiding in the cabinet room, haven't we? Next,
that's right, and attacking them with a fire extinguisher, which makes a very satisfying clang for something which he puts down quite lightly.
That was quite incongruous, actually. I wouldn't have really noticed it first time.
It was like, I had to go back and watch it, so it was like, is my audio out of sync? That was like something out. It was like a frying pan from bottom. He puts it down on a table and it goes clang.
Yeah, someone's having a bit of a laugh there.
But yeah, so
I liked the use of the fire extinguisher. Actually, it's a regular trope, that isn't it? Using a fire extinguisher to defeat anything.
And it's very doctorish, isn't it? That he could have, you expect most heroes to come in firing off a gun or a laser gun or something, and he comes in and he's spraying them with anti-fire foam to distract them.
And then Rose pulls the curtains on their head. There's a definite element of farce to it, but I think it works well.
He's also threatening them with a sonic screwdriver and a bottle of port as well.
That's right, yes. Which is a nice, a nice little bit of bullshit from the Doctor.
Yeah, bit bluffy.
I've got here threatening to triplicate the flammability of the alcohol. Send them all up in a big fireball.
I remember at the time thinking, that don't sound right.
I do think Eccleston's having fun being funny here. I think, wrongfully or rightfully, he gets painted as a grumpy doctor, but I think he's perfectly funny and charming. I think he always looks like he's really enjoying himself, which from all that we've heard was quite a difficult shoot when he's given jokes and comedy to do. I think he really quite enjoys doing that.
I like the whole exchange there between the three of them while they're talking to the Slovene, and Harriet realises he's an alien, and we get the repeat of the lots of planets have a north line, but this time from Rose. I've always imagined that sort of thing's really difficult to do well as actors, especially as they don't get rehearsals now, do they?
I think they get it more on the day. They're not going off to Acton and blocking it for a week.
But they run through it, don't they? But they don't get like the
Yeah.
full. I can't imagine being able to do that with just a couple of run throughs. It seems amazing to me.
So yeah, I think we are up to that point where we do cut to Jackie and Mickey in Mickey's
Yes.
flat, and it's I have to say straight off the bat, I think Clark and Kaduri. We haven't really seen them too much together thus far, but when it's just these two on their own, I think they've got cracking chemistry. I think they're really good together.
Yes.
No.
That's a lovely little scene, especially where he tries to comfort her and he's a bit hesitant.
Yes.
Well, it's just like a day earlier, she wanted him sent to prison.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was pushing dog shit through his letterbox practically. Yeah. I do like some of the, there's a lovely little bit of world building. It's typical of Russell T Davies. Jackie asks for something stronger and Mickey, rightly says this ain't the time for a conga. It's just a little bit. I just spent ages just figuring what is Jackie Tyler like as a drunk. I get, is she a happy drunk or is she, is she a morose
I
drunk?
did imagine some scenes in Rose's flat where her and Mickey are just sitting on the sofa, looking utterly fed up while she's dancing with 3 men from down the market or something.
Yeah. She's a karaoke girl. She's definitely got a Bonnie Tyler to her. That's again, Clark has some wonderful little bits in this scene. Like you were saying, Matt, about is kind of hesitant half hug of the woman who 24 hours ago was calling him a scumbag.
Yeah.
Telling her, if anyone should be crying, it should be me. But I do like it's very quick. He does a little double check of his fridge, like he's expecting something to leap out. And I thought I wonder if that's a moment Clark's come up with, like he's almost expecting an alien to be hiding in his, in amongst the cheese.
Well, perhaps he's just worried about the state of what's in there.
Yeah, that either could be equally plausible, I think.
Because I notice his cooker's filthy.
Yes, it's terrible.
And
that
then
just chills up my
later on,
spine.
the doctor asks him if he's got any vinegar, and he goes, "How would I know?" He goes, "Well, it's your flat.
It's your kitchen."
It's like, oh, I don't know. I'm always pissed or down the pub anyway. So what do I know what's in here?
Yeah.
He ain't going to clean him.
Yeah, so he's not changed that much, but I think it's a nice bit of evolution that he's willing to make Jackie a cup of tea when previously he wouldn't even wash up a mug for his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, Jackie's he's more scared of Jackie, isn't he?
Yeah, Jackie's a force to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah.
And but she does have I've singled out here that this is one of to me, I think Camille Kaduri is possibly the MVP of this story, and I think she's going to be the MVP going forward in most of her stories because I think she's absolutely brilliant. The way she says he wanted me dead. That's obviously this isn't the first time in the series where Jackie has been caught up in in a massacre. She was caught up in the Autumn Massacre in the first episode, but she's being hunted by a monster that was for all she knows was going to eat her, and it's brilliant. It's like she works as a very nice contrast to Rose, I think, in this episode. That she's in a position Rose was in her first story, where she's been confronted by the fantastic, but now Rose is a little bit more seasoned. She's a bit more of a veteran to it, so it rolls off her back a bit. So it's a nice contrast between mother and daughter in that, I thought.
Yeah, it shows you how one handles it a lot better than the other in the end as well.
Yeah,
right. I mean, Jackie's clearly in shock.
I was going to say he's definitely taken a course in bravery. He's definitely stood up a bit.
But I mean, this is a year later. He's a very different person, isn't he? He kind of knows the Rose has gone off into time and space.
Yeah,
but everyone thinks he's a murderer, and nobody's going to believe his story. He's had a lot of hard times, you'd imagine, and he's had to think about things a lot more now. This is a different Mickey, hence all the anger.
Jackie reminds me of a middle-aged Tegan. Very quick
Yes.
to attack rather than listen.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's very good with a one-liner as well.
Yes.
Mm.
You know, you saved my life. That's embarrassing.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lovely
Great
little
fun.
scene with all the toing and froing between them there, actually.
Yeah, they're a lovely little comedy double act.
A nice segue is that Mickey takes a picture of the Slovene, doesn't he, as they're escaping the first time.
Yeah.
That's yes.
Which
we glazed
Rose
over
now receives.
It was the age of the Nokia, which I was looking at most of those in those when she showed that picture. I said,
That was
Christ.
quite new then as well, wasn't it? Being able to take a picture with them, wasn't it?
Yes.
I had a Nokia up until about 2000, I think, and this is 2005, so it would have been one that was more modern than the one I had. So it does look quite modern to me, but it's just the size of the screen. It was like, what's
I
the
know.
point of that?
I did. I mean, I was a teenager around this time, and I think I can definitely remember having more Nokia 3310s, and I can remember getting our first. I can remember the big thing being the first phone which had a camera on it, and the first one which could play polyphonic ringtones, not the MIDI ringtones. So,
Anyway,
but just
that's
to
the thing that most dates this series, I think, is that Nokia.
I do like. It's only seen for a second, but I do like that Rose has saved the Doctor's number in the phone as the TARDIS, and it's even gone to the trouble of putting a little TARDIS icon when it rings.
Yes.
Well, that was cute.
Yeah.
TARDIS did it itself.
He did adjust that Nokia, didn't he, in the end of the world, so she could phone Jackie. So maybe he's put it into a memory in that moment.
Yeah.
But this follows a scene where we're in the cabinet rooms and they're clearing away that dead body, and Harriet's worrying about. I never asked his name.
Yes.
I like that little bit.
Yes.
It's not, you don't always get it with extras that die. He had more of a part than an extra, but we don't see him in this episode. But and also a few minutes later, she's taking Rose to task over the fact that she's joking when people are dead.
Yeah. Yes,
and
that's very important.
You're starting to see a little bit of process in her. She's got a little bit of steel. Well, she'll need later on in the episode.
Yeah.
And Rose's reply is very casual. It's very sorry, you sort of forget this stuff when he's around, something like that.
Yeah.
It's that cockiness starting to creep in.
Yeah. That really becomes a problem in the early part of next season.
It does, yes. Yeah, it's I think it's kind of nice that this is our first return to Earth story. We're roughly coming up to the halfway point of the series, aren't we? More or less. And we're definitely at the end of like the first chapter of this series. So I think it works as a nice contrast that comparing how Rose is in this story to how she was in her first story, that she's come back to Earth, that the change in her is very pronounced when you put her back down in her contemporary surroundings, her familiar surroundings. And so you can't necessarily imagine the Rose of the first story who's only just realised there's aliens now cracking jokes about nuclear missiles going off and alien invasions.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Apollo astronauts coming back from the moon and realising they've probably done it all now. They're suddenly out of place. They're suddenly apart from everybody else.
Is it Alan Bean who just ended up painting landscape or moonscapes for the rest of his life?
Yeah, there was one of them who did that, I think. And of course, Neil Armstrong famously just went under the radar, just couldn't stand it anymore. Whereas Buzz Aldrin very much embraced it.
Yeah.
We get Mickey and Rose, Jackie on the phone to the doctor, don't we? And
Yeah.
she wants to know if Rose is going to be safe, and he cannot answer it.
No.
And noticeably, he doesn't answer.
Yeah. Yeah. She's seen this life of his. She's had a brief taste of it, and it's scary and it's dangerous and it's frightening. And she just doesn't get it.
No. And the other thing that's happening is Mickey's actually being quite useful.
Yes. Yes, he is. He's
with his computer.
He's watched The Matrix a couple of times while he's been locked away in his flat.
There's a few bits here that I made a point of. There's Harriet saying to Rose, "You're a very violent young woman," because she
does
wants
go
to
Rambo a bit.
Yeah, she's also nuke, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, she said, "Well, can't we just send a nuke?" And it's like,
not thinking that they're actually outside of the door that she's hiding behind.
It's like the casuality of it. It's like, have they not thought of the consequences of a bomb in the middle of London? You know.
Ironically, where the episode goes.
Yeah, but it's not nuclear, is it?
No,
it's not.
Very pointedly.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's
and Rose says, "Don't put her on." She says, "My mum, all right." Yeah, she's there. Don't put her on. It's like you just know exactly how she feels.
Yeah, yeah. We've all had those nights where we've been out and when we're teenagers and our mums have tried to get in touch and we don't want them to ruin the fun. Because Rose is having a bit of fun in this. She's become a little bit of a danger junkie, like the Doctor is.
Yes, maybe. Yes.
A bit of note on the set dressing actually here. I do quite like. I was looking around Mickey's bedroom, and it was. I thought it was quite nice that they dressed it up with all that kind of Fox Muldery sort of stuff. There's like UFO posters and NASA posters, and he's got big files on UFO sightings and strange phenomena.
I hadn't noticed that.
Thinking back over this, I mean, I thought I've got in my notes here shades of Clive's shed, and that got me thinking because I remember one of the virtual presences of the Doctor Who marketing was Clive's website being updated week from week with a unmentioned webmaster, and it was around this point I think that because they updated it for every episode that came out, and I think it's around this point that we actually learnt that it was Mickey who'd taken over Clive's website. So I'm wondering, is it possible that even some of those files are Clive's materials? He's obviously after Rose and the Doctor have gone off, he's gone looking for questions. He's been looking for answers. He's gone back to Clive's widow, and maybe and he's very much taking over his mantle. So I did wonder, is actually some of the stuff that's reused is actually Clive's materials he's got in his flat?
Would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, it would be absolutely right that was what Mickey would do, especially being as he was being ostracised by everybody he knew because of Rose's disappearance. So, and he's got nobody to talk to about that stuff, but he could find people on the internet. Unfortunately, I wasn't on the internet when that was going on. I never saw these websites.
I think they are mostly available through like Wayback Machine. I mean, I've definitely revisited them in recent years. They get a bit of an upgrade for the second series, which I think it gets rebranded from Who is Doctor Who to Defending the Earth, where Noel Clarke recorded videos in character as Mickey, sending you off to do flash games based on, events that happened in that week. Because I definitely remember one where it's, I think it's like you even got the parallel universe version from Rise of the Cybermen, where he does a video as Ricky, and you have to control a dirigible doing a bombing raid on a Cyberman factory to help his resistance movement.
Interesting. I didn't see any of that at the time.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't even know if I knew about it. No, it wasn't just that I wasn't
No.
online. I may not have
There was a
known about them anyway,
there was
but
definitely a
I
couple of
possibly would have done.
websites. I mean, there was the unit website. There was the Clive's website. I want to say there was something else.
There was a Diary of Martha Jones, wasn't there? But I was never sure if that was the BBC or someone else.
It was. I think it was. She had a. I think it was her mice. They set up a MySpace account for her, or a Facebook account or something. Because not jumping ahead. Obviously, we can cut this out. I think it ends with her saying that she's just had a job offer from someone very interesting, leading into series 4. Well, the next scene is Mickey hacking Unit's website for the Doctor. And again, this is another negative note. Hacking Unit with Buffalo, and I put flipping heck. It's. I wouldn't mind if that's. I mean, I had shades of Babylon 5 where someone's password in that is just peekaboo, and his rationalization is, "Would you have guessed it?" And I'm wondering if Unit's hired the same guy.
The thing is, the automated password checkers will find that in seconds.
Yeah.
That's the point, isn't it? That's why it's so unbelievable. It does take you out of the action a little bit, I think. That
if the Doctor had told him a way to access this server and they give you a backdoor in, no, he just goes into Google, types the Unit website, and goes to the staff login, and from that he's able to monitor outer space. It's even the Doctor saying, "Oh, same password again." I'm sorry, but the United Nations, their security organization is not being paid millions to skimp out on IT.
I'm gonna cut them some slack and say it's just to speed the scene up. If he had to explain loads of protocol to Mickey,
well, Russell T Davies was a great one for saying, "I don't want to delay the plot to open a door." Or to get the Doctor to convince someone that he's on their side. So why have that at all? Just as Grant says, just don't mention it.
it just says it just give him a 12-digit number and just say put that in, it will work. So
or sonic it down the phone line.
Yeah, that would have been a nice touch. Yeah,
quite fun. Hold the phone up to the screen. Right, you're in.
Yeah. They should get us to write these things.
I do like the Doctor's line here, where he dismisses the UFO experts who'd gathered below. Oh, they would have gathered for a weather balloon. Is that a cheeky Three Doctors reference?
Maybe. I only really noticed that this time. I didn't notice it the first time I watched it. It's a curious one. Yeah.
So we do get a brief bit of the PC Silurian stalking his own hunt, coming up to Mickey's door, and this I couldn't help noticing this, but the light on the PC's head comes on before the zip starts to open, and it's definitely coming from a direction that is not inside of his head.
Oh, it's nice to know these old style gaffs are still there.
While this is all going on,
what I do like about this, sorry, Grant, is how they solve this problem of this attack. They basically just have a massive brainstorming session, narrowing it down, and finally come up with the solution. I really like that because I
love it. That was what I was going to go into. So
okay,
you're absolutely right. I love it, just like them throwing the facts at each other, what they've been able to work out, what they've noticed, and it all comes together in a lovely little moment. And they've all got something to share that,
Yes, they all contribute to that. I like the little reference to Hannibal. Even it's just
I love the A-Team.
I think it's a really nice. This is how British heroes conduct themselves. They don't go out shooting everybody. They think it through and come up with an idea. basic, and they're just emptying Mickey's cupboards, throwing all sorts of crap at this monster.
Yeah.
Having established it's a living calcium thing, which is a very
Mm.
Doctor Who monster, I thought.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a really nice touch. Really
It's
nice touch.
the one aspect I wasn't too keen on was it was a little bit comedy death where he the Slitheen stops, realizes what's going to happen, then he blows up and a little crap goes all over him. It's a little bit too comedy for such a graphic death, even if it
Yeah.
isn't in it. But maybe they needed to lighten it at that point. Don't know,
Yeah, it's
but
definitely a more of a child-friendly kind of death of a monster.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah.
fair enough. But it upsets his family, and I think this guy who's playing the prime minister, he's very, very angry at this, and he's just that's the last piece of luck anybody on this planet is going to get, and I
Yeah.
found that quite menacing, and it does kind of jar with the comedy this time for me.
Yeah,
Because I was getting over it at this point, but
because we even get another little bit of comedy with the Doctor doing a gagging when he takes a sip of the port. So clearly he's not a fan. He's not a big drinker.
yeah,
It's nice that we actually have aliens and it's just a family. That Slovene is their surname. It makes a nice, tips the usual thing on its head where we have a race of aliens and they're all as one. They all dress the same and look the same and in exactly the way that they wouldn't be in reality.
I've got here, they're not invaders, they're war profiteers, aren't they, really?
Yes.
You know, they're it's no different than, you know, someone picking through the ruins of a bombing, you know, looking for lead to sell.
It's more interesting motive than the usual we're going to invade.
So we're at the point where Margaret Slovene, I just wanted to flag up, when she's talking to the Doctor, I love her sickly schoolgirl routine. You know, she's definitely the standout Silurian for me, just for this scene alone. And there was a nice little, everyone seems to get a nice little bits of physical comedy to do. Like earlier when they were doing the whole gag about the changing rooms with the Slovene, she was putting the skins on coat hangers, and at one point she even checks the nails under one of the flapping hands, like she's checking it for dirt. I think that's a lovely little touch. I think that did make me chuckle in this episode. But she's like Hannibal Lecter in this scene. Just, you know, the way she can go from the sweet little, she's the, you know, the Harry Potter Dolores Umbridge figure, the sweet, sickly, middle-aged woman, and then suddenly something changes in the eyes and there's just a deadly predator standing there in front of you.
They're usually in HR, aren't they?
More than usual, yeah.
I think they like, it's little moments like that mean it's Annette Badland that comes back for Boomtown and not any of the others. I don't think any of the others would work at all.
No.
Too many comedy moments for them. But Annette Badland carries that off really well. Like the dual aspect.
I do like the little look she gives just before they close the security shutters again, where the Doctor's threatened them. And she's just got that look of uncertainty. It goes from them all laughing at him to just this. He's got that conviction where she actually thinks he could do something.
Yeah, she's recognised his conviction, hasn't she? She knows that he's got something. But it's after they did all they basically told the press and therefore the public what was going on in their version, obviously, and that was quite. I don't remember anything in the old series but being so open about aliens at any point. Maybe I'm missing one somewhere.
They just didn't have the resources to really do that. I think it was
or the time to do that sort of world building going on. That, you know, they would have to acknowledge that the public know of aliens. And the military, that's why I think a lot of the time they stuck to just soldiers and government officials who were cleared to be in the know.
Yeah. But so I found that quite interesting.
That's the infamous, what's the phrase they use? Weapons of massive
weapons of destruction.
Massive weapons of destruction, that's it. And I think you wouldn't get that on the BBC now.
No.
Partly because it's been riddled with Tories at the top. Even though it was a Labour government who did that. But, you just can't imagine it now.
No, I mean, it's one of the most very on-the-nose bits of satire. And in fact, I've got in my notes, satire, satire, satire in big capital letters.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Tony Blair's Iraq as weapons of mass destruction 45 minutes from London?
Yes.
Is that what it's parodying? Yeah.
The infamous sexed up dossier.
Yes.
Though there's a few too many mentions, I think, of the UN. There's a bit where Harriet Jones says, "I didn't vote for that," and there's a bit where Rose says it didn't stop them last time not having a UN resolution. And I thought there's just a bit too many mentions in the end, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking back to that scene, and I mean, about 10 minutes ago, she didn't understand why dropping a nuclear missile on London would be a bad idea, but suddenly she's able to make quite clever and erudite jokes about, UN resolutions, and she clearly's watched a bit of C-SPAN and BBC Parliament.
I did wonder why, having established what vinegar could do, why they didn't get onto someone who could get onto Sarsens and get some big tankers in pretty quick.
Put it in the fire spring.
There's a bit where, that's a good idea. There's a bit that I didn't notice till this time, where they've actually just tried ringing everybody who could help them, and everyone's on voicemail.
We do have to remember that nobody is going to believe a word they say, because the Prime Minister is speaking one story, and the doctor then would have to find somebody who's going to trust him.
Yeah.
And have access to vast quantities of vinegar.
Well, the vinegar's not a problem.
No, I was going to say 2 Downing Street, but I thought vinegar might be funnier.
But Harriet says voicemail dooms us all, which is a lovely little remark, because of course, how many times do you end up getting diverted to voicemail when you really need to speak to someone?
Yeah. But I don't know how you both feel about this, but it's implied that Britain has had the nuclear codes taken off of them due to the war on terror. But I was wondering, have they not maybe had them taken off of them due to the fiasco in Robot, where they'd been trusted with the nuclear codes, and 3 middle-aged scientists managed to take over the bunker and nearly wiped out the planet? Is that the real catalyst here?
Well, I don't think Patricia Maynard would like to have been referred to as middle-aged in 1975.
I think so. I prefer that explanation to referring to some dismal politic from the time.
Well,
but
the writer would know about Robot as well, so that's quite a nice idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came to me as I was watching. I thought, hang on.
Also, I do have a question about that. Why don't the UN just fire them? Why do they give them back to Britain for Britain to fire them? They've got the codes.
Oh, well, they presumably don't have the capacity to actually fire them. They've just got the codes.
Well, they send a man round with a van.
FedEx driver.
Maybe.
Well, going off the back of that, why have the Slovene bothered to infiltrate the British government over months when they could have just infiltrated the UN and done it themselves?
Got to do your research. They've clearly not done so.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there aren't, because the UN buildings in America, maybe they don't have such fat people that we have.
Actually, you think they'd have honed in on America then?
Yeah.
Oh, they definitely would have landed there.
And George Bush was in charge at the time, so it would have been an easier job.
Yeah, thank God they didn't. We'd all be minced.
The Doctor gets his nice little moment of, can he really press the button to launch a missile at Downing Street and take out the Slitheen? Because that's the plan they've decided on. And Jackie's taken him to task about it. He's made promises about not being able to keep Rose safe. And, said, this is what I do, just standing up. Someone's got to do it, and it's got to be me. And to me, just his line, save the world and lose you, feels like a bit of weird melodrama all of a sudden. Like, now they're finally starting to... This feels like the very first episode where they try to play up, does the Doctor actually quite fancy Rose and vice versa? It didn't really land for me because, I love Piper and Eccleston together, and they're very good. They've got great screen chemistry, but I don't know if this is, just the sheer age difference. I think there's about 15 years between them.
Yeah.
I think she's about 26. Because he's about 40 and she was 26 at the time she was making this.
Because she's meant to be a teenager, isn't she?
Yeah. And it just like, there's just no romantic tension between them.
No, I don't.
With Tennant it will be better, but here they're just very, very good friends. I can't really buy them as romantic interest to each other.
No, you can take that as a friendship thing in as much as he's been through this traumatic experience of the Time War and how it ended, and she's been the first person he's connected with, and she's obviously having a lightening effect on him.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he's so desperate not to lose her, but it's like it doesn't work if he's going to die himself, does it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was more about friendship, and he'd probably, he's absolutely... He feels that he's got blood on his hands, and here goes, and now he's met someone again, and off he's going to kill them again. But yeah, the line is a bit crap.
Clunky. Yeah. And Harriet takes it off their hands as well. She takes the decision over, which I love.
I adore that.
I'd be inclined to do the same as her, I think, in that situation.
Yeah, she has a responsibility as well, I guess. By default.
Of the people, by the people.
And it's nice to see it taken out of the Doctor's hands as well. And he kind of, he's almost grateful for it, it seems to me. I might be reading that in, but
no,
I've just obeys her without question.
I've got the note here. I like Harriet absolving the Doctor of responsibility. She does. It's an absolution from her.
Yeah, because he spends a lot of his time being absolved of responsibility, I think, in the old series and this one.
True. That's a very good point.
There's a little bit where Jackie and Mickey are at the PC. Oh, that's it. And she wants to... she says, I could stop you. He says, go on then, and she doesn't. Yes. And there's a little zoom... After the missile takes off, there's a little zoom in on her face. And you don't see many zoom ins, and it's nice. Also, there's a little drawing of the TARDIS stuck to Mickey's monitor. Yeah,
I spotted he's got a similar one on the NASA poster across the room as well. So obviously he's, been a little bit obsessed over the last year.
Well, he's probably wondering whether he really saw what he saw by now, isn't he?
Yeah. But no, it's a nice little bit of set dressing. I mean, I have to say it's a nice bit of set dressing that he's using a PC, because on television it tends to be, I noticed that unless they've got a deliberate sponsorship deal, people tend to use Macs on TV because they look a bit more photogenic, especially like the early 2000s desktop sort of ones, whereas at the time it was far more realistic that people were more likely going to have a PC, a big cathode ray Windows 98 one like his. This is all building up to my favourite part of the episode, which is the bellowed, victory should be naked. And I think that's something we can all agree with.
Every time.
This
every time.
this is just before the top Keystone cop runs in and sees all the Slovene, doesn't he? And he just says, sorry, and runs out again.
I want to know, how long has this guy been awake for? I mean, it makes sense for, the cast. They're all aware of the jeopardy that's going on, or they're scheming. But the military, surely they would have stood him down at some point and replaced him with someone refreshed. And I mean, I don't know. Do the military regularly stay on duty for 24 hours? Maybe in a crisis, but it feels like he would have been. He seems to be only a sergeant. He would have been sent away to get some sleep and a cup of tea at some point.
That's definitely overthinking it, though.
Yeah, the time's a bit weird, isn't it? Because they talk about it being 3 a.m. in the morning at one point.
Yeah,
and you think, oh, how long has this been going on?
I do wonder if is that 3 a.m. American time, so it's going to be about 9-10 in the morning for us.
Mickey says it when the policeman calls at his flat.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Isn't it? He says, "Who is it? It's 3 o'clock in the morning." And he says, "Well, tell them to go away." Like if there was a clue that there was something bad going to happen. You don't just go and send somebody to answer the door at 3 a.m. when you're under attack from aliens. There was one thing I was thinking where the doctor's like, "Well, we're all gonna die in this room. It's not strong enough for this bomb." But Rose doesn't accept that, and they all hide in the cupboard and they're fine. It's like the doctor's kind of given up a long time before Rose.
Well, because he's thought about the bigger picture of he's got to get rid of the Slovene, even though he's non-violent. But she's obviously thinking of the smaller things like, can we get out of this alive?
Yeah.
He does seem to have given up. They don't close the cupboard door.
No. And again, this is me being a bit hyper-focused on set dressing. I did notice the Prime Minister seems to have Skittles spread across his desk next to the phone. So
yes.
As he was going off,
this is the cabinet room they're in, isn't it? Now, or
no,
because they're in the office
Prime Minister's
outside.
office.
Oh, okay.
So
I just wondered if it was like
the red phone.
He got the Skittles out for the ministers to come in.
I'm sure that must be a reference. I'm sure it's like a George Bush reference. He must have. I think he was famous for chomping on candy in the White House or something.
Or maybe this Slovene had got a taste for them.
I was thinking of it was a Led Zeppelin reference, but I believe that's M&M's, not Skittles. But that's not going to be true, is it?
Yeah.
But going back to Harriet Jones taking command in that point, that's the point, I believe. Because you knew as soon as he started saying, Harriet Jones, who's that? Why do I know that name? That's the point where I thought, she could be Prime Minister. She could do it.
I've got a point about that, but we'll come back to it where it comes in the story.
Okay.
But so at this point, again, we get another very Keystone Cops moment with the Slovene. The missiles are now flying over the cliffs of Dover, through Peckham, heading towards Downing Street, and they're fighting over whose skin is whose skin, which is when we realise that these are the skins of dead people they've eaten. It's funny, but it's also quite bleak.
Talking about the bombs, it's Mickey that fires the bombs. For some reason, the Doctor can't access a computer where he is that can connect.
Yeah.
They did cut communications. There was a line saying we cut communications in that room. Obviously, he's got his magic phone. But the Doctor calls Mickey. He says, Mickey the idiot, the world is in your hands. And it seems he's trying to subvert that. And because earlier in the episode, he said, or was it later? At least he says not everybody's an idiot, and Mickey realizes he's referring to him. But it's and these are nice bonding moments for the Doctor and Mickey, completely undercut in the next season when he just starts calling him Ricky the idiot again.
Yeah, it's a bit odd.
But anyway, at this point they're getting on quite well.
Yes, for the moment. And so the bomb finally goes off and it hits Downing Street. And I was thinking, this is a lovely bit of model work from the props team. Watching, it's, getting our own Independence Day, where, the missile comes crashing down and the Downing Street, 10 Downing Street is wiped out, and miraculously all the buildings around it survive. But because I've just got in my notes here, why isn't the whole fucking area just glassed? Because I'm sure a Trident missile is going to wipe out about 3 to 5 miles radius of London. It's going to
certainly there would be more damage, I think.
Yeah, there's going to be a bigger dust cloud.
Yeah,
alarms should be going off everywhere.
Well, when there's the shot of the door opening of the box they're in, and you can hear some alarms going off, and it sounds a little bit mocking. It's quite funny.
Yeah, what's the point?
But of course, the big point is the Slovenes say bollocks as they realise what's happening.
Yes, they get a half swear in. Oh, bolt!
And watching it this time, it's like your brain automatically fills the rest of the word in. There's no half swearing, really. Everyone knew what they said. How did they really get away with that?
I mean, they got away with worse on a lower, didn't they?
Did they?
I was pissing by the door when I heard a shit.
Oh, right. That was aimed at adults, though, wasn't it? Hello.
True.
But for a program that they know is going to be, it's going to have a family audience. I was surprised at the time, although there was more surprises to come in season 2, I think.
I do like the Doctor's little comments. There we go, made in Britain, referring to the box that's just saved them, and that's something it's a nice little quote that sums up the show as well. Made in Britain.
Unless he was referring to the bombs that didn't destroy it. Which was a different spin on Made in Britain. But maybe. And yeah, it was the box, wasn't it? Yeah.
They're probably not made here.
and then Harriet runs off to the press, does her bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind
Harriet Jones walking off into history.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is my little comment, because he says she wins 3 terms. Now, she's only a backbencher now, so she's not even Prime Minister yet, let alone gone for 3 elections.
And he comes back in a year, doesn't he?
Well, he comes back for Christmas. Yeah. It's only a few months away, presuming that this is now April 2005 that we're in.
I did wonder about that, but I wonder whether his comment to her assistant in that Christmas episode changed the future in some way.
Well, I did wonder about that. Yeah. But then how is he... See, he's changing history there as he already knows it, isn't he? Although he doesn't know he's changing it, I guess. But it opens up a can of worms anyway.
It's... Well, we can probably cut this into when we do series 3, but it's the Doctor using time travel and future knowledge to be a dick. That she's annoyed him, so he's subverted her future, and he's caused a big gap in the timeline where there should have been, a Harriet Jones government well into 2020, and he's created a point in time where the Master can sneak in and get up to some skullduggery.
Good point.
I think it's the whole the arrogance of the Time Lord, the Time Lord Victorious, I guess. Very, very early iteration of that.
Yes. Because there has always been that about the Doctor, I think, about he likes to say he's not of their society anymore, but he has got their arrogance when it suits him.
Yeah.
So finally we get to the denouement of the story. So I quite like Jackie warming up to the Doctor. He's good in a crisis. I'll give him points for that. But I do feel the Doctor And it's nice that she's, willing to build bridges. And I think it's quite an amusing image. Well, what does he eat? He's an alien. Does he eat grass and paper clips? And
Yeah.
I think that's a very good question to ask. But I don't know how I feel about the Doctor's conversation with Rose here, because he's making her choose, I think, quite unfairly.
I thought that was quite cruel.
Agreed, yeah. He's being very condescending as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see Jackie and Mickey make a bit of kind of, peace and headway with the Doctor. They're trying to meet him halfway.
Yeah.
But at least in this little scene, he's not. It's, he's, well, stay here for lasagna and chips or time machine. I've just got, time machine dickhead in my notes.
Yeah, because the time machine, it doesn't matter when he leaves, does it?
Yeah.
Why can't he have the shepherd's pie before anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a bit better with Mickey. He actually asks Mickey to go and then covers when Mickey's too scared, when Rose asks him.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that. That was a nice little bit, that was.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
with Jackie, he's like, I'm getting out of there. I mean, she did hit in the last episode. Maybe that's why.
She would be too much of a loose cannon, I suspect. He'd be forever having to go and rescue her. And
yeah, but he wouldn't even go for shepherd's pie.
No, that did seem a little bit.
There
was no need for that.
I mean, I don't eat people who punch me. That is one of my rules. So maybe it's one of the Doctor's.
Yeah. He did provoke her somewhat, though, by what he did. Whisking the daughter off for a year.
It's not an innocent party.
Totally deserved to get punched, yes.
But he had that lovely line when Rose says, "My mum's cooking," and she says, "Put her on a low heat."
He's quite slick.
I just did find it when they were trying to meet him halfway, as you say, Grant, and he did not reciprocate at all with Jackie. I found that quite harsh. He put her through hell for a year.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, this massive thing where her daughter might be dead, and he's not even going to spend any time with her to eat a meal, make peace.
It's all he needs to do. He needs to, shovel in a few mouthfuls, make some polite conversation, stick around for a cup of tea and watch EastEnders. That's all he has to do.
Mind you can imagine him twitching and making sarcastic comments and Jackie regretting her invitation.
No, that's a fair comment as well.
But yeah, it's nice like we were saying, he does build some bridges with Mickey a little bit, and well, not all of you, and he's able to have he's gone from despising Mickey for being a coward and a cretin to he's got a grudging respect. He's for Mickey's shown some balls here. He's he's stepped up.
He has quite a lot, actually, considering what he's been through. Yeah.
So I think at this point it's the banter, well, the back and forth between Mickey and the Doctor. It transfers here from being barbed insults and general meanness to it's a bit more banter. He's calling him an idiot out of a place of affection now, rather than malice.
Yes, Mickey even smiles back.
Yeah. And I do like, as you both said, like his kind of false machismo that they've got to keep up the pretense with Rose that they still don't like each other very much. And that's he's not invited. He's not coming with us. My rules.
I don't know if it chimed with you, but Rose accepts that very, very quickly. And the next series, when he does go with them, she's a little bit, I didn't really want you to.
Yeah. So it leads on to my next point. Rose and Mickey seem to be back on. When did that happen? Because she emphatically dumped him at the end of Rose. And okay, they've had a day or two now.
Did she dump him?
Well, she effectively dumped him. That, I mean, looking at it now, when she does a, thanks for what exactly, and runs off with another bloke, that's very much a dumping in my eyes.
She wasn't expecting to go for a year, though, was she? I guess.
No,
But yeah, it was nasty.
but they seem to have they've had maybe one scene together in the previous episode, but they now she's hugging him, kissing him on the lips, and they seem to be back on.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, and he's shown a bit more. He's grown up a bit here as well. This episode, he's shown the capacity for change, and he's become a change. He is a changed man at this point, I would say, Mickey. But I'd like to table that, because I think that same kind of inconsistency pops up again in Boomtown.
Yes.
Where it's not quite clear, are they on and off? Because it's not to get ahead of ourselves, but both Adam and Captain Jack are treated as love interests for Rose without any sort of guilt over Mickey. My very, very final note is, I've got to say, and I was watching when Mickey was sitting on the bin right at the end. That which is a bit strange to me. In the middle of the evening, he's just going to sit on a bin and read a paper when he's got a flat about 2 seconds away.
He is waiting to see if they come back, though, isn't he? They waited the 10 seconds.
Oh, true.
He's reading the paper before they leave. Remember, because he points out to the doctor that it's got fake UFO or something.
No, he's brought the paper in order to sit on the bin and read. Perhaps, I don't know. But I think because Jackie says 10 seconds and walks off, and he settles down to read, I assumed it was because he was thinking, well, maybe it'll be 5 minutes or something.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree at that point. But
I mean... But just to bring this back to our very first episode, I mean, I was watching that scene when he was sat on the bin, and I thought, never mind Rose's jeans, look at Mickey's jeans in that last scene. He's got bell bottoms on.
I didn't notice them.
They're like kites.
I thought flares come back in the 90s, early 90s, didn't they? Not did they come back again?
These aren't flares, though, are they? These are something else.
Oh, okay.
If you've seen that picture of is it when Rio Ferdinand signed for Man United in 2003? It looks just like that. And there was a big fashion movement, especially amongst young men, for like moccasin dress shoes with flared baggy jeans. It was a whole thing.
This is outside my wheelhouse. You've seen the way I dress. It's just practicalities and nothing else.
No, don't worry. I've learnt the benefit of comfort over style.
I mean, this is for young people, so this is probably more important for the younger people. I mean, when you were watching at 16, you were at school, so fashion was something you could try to do to your uniform, and made huge efforts when you were out of school. But
it's just dressing people as they dressed at the time, isn't it?
Yeah. It just means it's a very nice...
I wouldn't notice at the time, and I certainly wouldn't with retrospect.
I think just looking back now, it's a nice little time capsule to 2005 or 2004 when they were filming this. Yeah. Like we were saying with the phone and the technology, it's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I like that, actually. Because Doctor Who hasn't always been very good at that, because it hasn't always featured contemporary settings.
Yeah.
Despite its reputation being of a program where aliens invade Earth.
Yeah. I mean, it's like us now in 2005, looking back at the fashions of 1985, looking at, Attack of the Cybermen and stuff like that.
Yes.
Contemporary stories.
Well, are we going to talk about the next time trailer, which I thought was particularly well done?
Before we go on to that, I'd like to play our little game, shall we say?
Oh, God.
So, following on So following on from our count last episode, this is how did I put it in the WhatsApp group? I put it as Bruce's Play Your Farts Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it to, you're going to go higher and lower. I'm going to go over to Matt first this time. And the fart count, how many farts do you think there were in this episode?
5.
5. Graham, going higher or lower?
I was going to say 5, but I think it might be even lower. Actually, what I was going to say was half a dozen, so I'll say that. But I think that's going to make Matt win.
You're right. It's Matt was actually closer this time round. It was actually only 3.
Wow.
3 distinct farts. I was going to be a bit of a bastard like last time and count a half fart that's in the episode, but I thought I'd be fair. When they throw the vinegar over the Slovene, he does make a squeaky fart noise before he blows up.
He does.
But
Yes.
I thought I'd be fair and keep it to a nice
there.
round number.
I've been there after particularly a bad meal. Sorry, Matt. I know you don't like this type of humour, but I do. Anyway,
Going down market.
Yeah, but I did like that trailer because by the end it's Daleks, but they kind of they give you the hint that it's Daleks by not showing it to you, and then you see somebody exterminated, which can only be a Dalek. So by the time I saw the Dalek, I was extremely excited.
It's a wonderful little scary trailer.
It's kind of what we've all been waiting for as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And at the time, I was quite glad, we're just going to get one Dalek, and it's not going to be the grand finale, and we can have the Dalek and wallow in that, and then it'll be something new for the finale.
Yes.
And it didn't work out that way, but we'll get to that. But I thought the trailer was extremely well done.
Question I have now is, how popular was the series by this point? It got good ratings.
Yeah.
But we hadn't had the Daleks yet, we hadn't had the Are You My Mummy yet. And I think those were the things that really started to... Those were the tropes, weren't they, that started to sort of take off amongst kids and things.
Yeah, yes. I think it was doing well in the playgrounds. They were all talking about it, playing it. But I don't know whether they'd started to buy merchandise or anything yet, 'cause I don't know if it existed.
I don't think so, not just at this point. I mean, looking at the numbers I've seen, the reviews were pretty much universally brilliant across the board. And there was a very big media blitz. I mean, I definitely remember, going past plenty of billboards showing Eccleston and Piper, and they were doing the chat show circuits. And but yeah, looking at the numbers, I mean, it starts off, it holds pretty consistently between 7 and 8 million people over the 13 weeks. And I think, honestly, most of those dips can be attributed, because this episode went out in late April going into May. I think it's fairly likely that any dips were more due to very nice going out weather on Saturdays.
Yeah, or just events. I can't remember what events we had, but
gigs
a football tournament, something coming up would reduce viewers. But that
election during the middle
8 million in the early 2000s. That's pretty good figures.
Yeah. I think it starts off about 9 million or 8.5, and it settles comfortably into about 7.5 million, where it will remain for a good few years.
It did remain highly prominent in the press, didn't it, for the first season?
Yeah. Well, this has been a fantastic get-together, lads, and it's nice that we've got some sometimes differing opinions on the episode, but I think this has been a lovely little episode, and I hope you're both looking forward to doing Dalek very soon.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, certainly.
You have been listening to the Powell Estate Neighbourhood Watch. I have been your host, Grant, and as ever, I've been joined by Matt.
Bye.
And Graham.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next time, Dalek.
The power station able to report.